What's up, guys? Dustin McDangles here, back with another video. This is the new franchise mode series, guys. And before we get into it, be sure to make sure you guys are subscribed so you aren't missing out on anything with this brand new franchise mode series, as well as the Be a Pro series and future giveaways of players and a copy of a free NHL 21 once that game comes out, guys. So be sure to subscribe. Also, drop a like if you guys are super excited for a franchise mode series. I know I am. But based off of the straw poll vote in the previous video describing the voting for this franchise mode, it looks like it came down to only a few votes that were actually in the straw poll. I know a couple guys put some things in the comments, but you had to vote in that straw poll to be actually considered a vote. And the winning vote for the series is actually going to be the San Jose Sharks, guys, which is honestly one of the front runners I had going into this sort of vote, as I wanted to rebuild a struggling team. It was either the Sharks, the Senators, or the LA Kings were some of the front running teams I really wanted to rebuild, just because they have fallen from grace in recent years, especially with the San Jose Sharks having been in the Stanley Cup Final only a few years ago against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But they have fallen from grace here, and we will sort of try and rebuild them here in this franchise mode simulation. So hopefully we can do so. So we're going to go ahead with the San Jose Sharks here, as we do not need to move around the divisions. We actually have a great overall here in the Pacific Division, 86 overall. It's kind of crazy to see how they haven't really been able to put it together. So we will go ahead and disable owner mode. Obviously want the salary cap on. Player morale, we don't need that team chemistry or morale, as we will just worry about the sort of line chemistry. We want fog of war off and the head coaching edit lines off. We do, however, want CPU trades, as we want that to be as authentic as possible. We want the rest of this to be off, it looks like here. We do want the fantasy draft off, so we got all of that sort of set, as we will actually go ahead and look at the rules and sliders right now. So looking at the rules, obviously custom rules are fine, although I might want to put that to the NHL, just because I want that on NHL rules. Injuries on, fantasy draft off. We want auto signing of free agents. We do not want that for the user team. Superstar difficulty, CPU trades on. We want the authentic sort of draft pick ownership. Salary cap is on. Trade difficulty we will bump up to hard, just because we want it as authentic as possible. We want waivers on. Relocation is off. Fog of war is off. And the rest of that, let's see here. Auto scouting. Both CPU will assign all scouts. I think I'll start with that, just because I'm not too familiar with the scouting for this franchise mode. And I'll leave auto staff management off for now, before we sort of get into things. And I'm going to get into the sliders here. Not really going to mess with anything too crazy, but after seeing a few other franchise modes, it looks like they had sort of bumped down the injuries to sort of make it a little bit more authentic. And we'll go with 12 for the injury occurrence, just because we don't want to have to change injuries that much, but we still want them in our franchise mode. So that's going to be it for the sliders, guys. Get those put in, and we will sort of advance here to start the career mode with the San Jose Sharks. So let's get into it right now. Getting into the season here, we won't sort of progress any further in the calendar, as we will actually go ahead and look at our lines here to see what we are looking for. As you can see, our name up there in the top right hand corner, Dustin McDan. We weren't able to actually get McDangle all the way through that, but just looking right off the bat here at these lines, they are looking pretty good, not gonna lie. A pretty decent first line overall, as you have Evander Kane, Logan Couture, and Timo Meier for your first line, as our second line sort of drops off a little bit. I'm trying to see if we could sort of get that negative away, which we could do if we drop Marlowe down a line. He's actually a left winger, which is interesting to see. We might need this. We have a bunch of left wingers. Wow. How many right wings do we even have? Because technically our only right winger on our team right now is Timo Meier. Let's take a look at our scratched here, as we got a defenseman, a center, and a right wing here with Blitchfield. So we might need to sort of get into the free agency with a right winger who might be able to fit our lines to better sort of suit sort of the matchups here, because we don't really want that -1 on our roster, as it looks like somewhat the team is somewhat looking good, although we could move Sorensen up instead of Kevin Leblanc, which we might actually do. Leblanc is, oh man, he likes that first line. Let's see what Evander Kane likes. He also does like the first line, so we don't want to drop Evander Kane down. We want him on our top line. Timo Meier actually doesn't fit our first line, which is kind of funny to see, as Couture's best fit is the third line, and Thornton is the second line. So, ooh, that's actually a +3. Is there any way we could get... Oh, Tomas Hertl is a centerman. Oh, man, that would be so nice. Oh, I don't want Jumbo Joe up on that line, but he does get the +3 on that. Let's see if I move Leblanc back up. That'll take it down. So we'll leave it right there for now. We won't do any too much more sort of tweaking and fiddling around with our lineup, as we'll go ahead and look at our defensemen, and they are not looking great at all. As for some reason, Brendan Dillon is still on our roster. He was actually traded away to the Washington Capitals, as Vlasic. They're both defensive defensemen, I'm pretty sure, and that's why they are sort of getting that knock on the overall. So I would actually prefer to have Edward Vlasic on the first line and move Brett Burns down to the second line, just to sort of get that pairing at least neutral, so we're not negative right here. So we could just check and see if any of these guys fit any of the second line. So Ferraro actually will fit that second line, as he doesn't get the plus there, so I kind of want to just leave him. See if, yeah, so our defense might need a little work, and depending on sort of our cap space, we might need to make a trade or two here just to sort of shake up the team. So we'll go ahead and look at the goaltenders here on our team. We have Martin Jones, 84 overall, and Aaron Dell as our backup goalie. So goalies are not too bad, although I might want to get a little upgrade here for that starting goaltender position, but we will roll with it to start the season, as we'll actually go ahead and switch over to the AHL squad, as they are looking not too shabby here with a decent lineup of 70s. Yeah, it's quite interesting here, as there's only a +1 on one of those lines, but we got a -1 here on the fourth line, unfortunately. Trying to see if I can switch that up to get that away, but it's not looking good here, as quite interesting stuff to see here, as we might switch that, see if this will work. No, that won't, so we'll just have to sort of tough it out there with that fourth line being a -1 at the start of the season. Looking at the defense here, holy smokes, a +5 with Middleton and Roy. That is pretty crazy to see. See if we can switch that around. No, I honestly don't want to touch that sort of defensive pairing. So we'll go ahead and look at the scratched players as well. There's a bunch of scratched players that could sort of crack the lineup. Tons of centerman guys on our roster, both at the AHL and NHL level. And just looking at the goalies, oh boy, we might need to sign an AHL goaltender, as Shortridge and Cornier are going to cut it here at the AHL level. So we might want to sign sort of an AHL goaltender, but that is the teams right off the bat, guys. So we will go ahead and try and look to see if we can sign some free agents and take a look at our salary cap. So just looking at our salary cap situation, guys, as you can see at the bottom of the page there, our cap space is only $2.4 million. And, man, we might need to make a trade here with one of our defensemen. I was thinking potentially getting rid of either Marc-Edouard Vlasic or Brendan Dillon, as Dillon is going to be a free agent next year and doesn't want to sign an extension. So we could try and look for a trade for him. We actually do have a bunch of unrestricted free agents, although Patrick Marleau is on a very team-friendly deal, so we could potentially maybe sign him next year, even though he is aging and getting quite old. Same with Jumbo Joe Thornton. I know he pans out pretty well in sort of simulations, but Kevin Leblanc would be sort of a big signing that we would want to re-sign, as he is on his last year of that deal. Let's actually take a look and see Oh, we can't even re-sign him, I don't think. Can we sign him early? No, we cannot. So we can't really sign him early right now. Sorensen, I mean, all of our contracts are looking pretty decent. Malcolm Carlson, who could maybe re-sign for cheap, potentially as a sort of fourth-line centerman as he is getting a little bit older. And we have a couple guys that looks like they're coming off of their rookie deals, getting through the lineup. So not too bad looking at all of the deals here, as Burns and Carlson are sort of tied up for the long haul. No, they're tied up for the next couple years, which is good to see, along with Couture is tied up for the next, holy smokes, he keeps going. He's at least for the next 8 years. And Tomas Hertl, it looks like he's signed up for the next 3 years for the Sharks. Vander Kane is signed up for the next 6 years, it looks like, with the San Jose Sharks, along with Timo Meier and Mark-Edward Vlasic. So we might actually want to sort of move Vlasic and Brendan Dillon potentially here to sort of free up some cap space and sort of bring in some maybe younger and better potential. So we'll actually go ahead and try and trade Brendan Dillon here right now. So I have the trade here pulled up for the Brett Connolly trade, and I honestly feel like we should take this trade as we get a second rounder from the Panthers, a third rounder from the Avalanche, and Brett Connolly 4 years at $3.5 million, which could be nice to see as he is also 27 years of age. The cap difference won't make too much of a difference, and we could also sign Dion Phaneuf to move him into that second line position for Dillon. And I honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and accept this trade for Brett Connolly as we get some picks and an awesome player there. As we will go ahead and edit our lines now, as we will go there right now. As it actually, we will actually have to sort of substitute. We'll actually have to put in somebody in just the spot here right now for now, before we go ahead and throw in Dion Phaneuf if we can sign him to free agency. Meanwhile, I will go ahead and try and substitute this centerman here, who's actually in a right wing position, for Brett Connolly, so we get him into the lineup. See if we can move him up, and he can't sort of get a knock. Ooh, that actually would be quite interesting, as we can try and move him to the third line, move Marleau up to that second line. Actually, let's try and see if we can get Hertl. Actually, we'll leave it at that. This is kind of tough. This is a tough choice. Man, oh man. I would rather have Marleau with Jumbo Joe, just to keep that classic pairing of Marleau and Joe Thornton together on the same line. Does Kevin Leblanc? Okay, Leblanc will have to stay on our third line for now, but that is a stacked third line, honestly. Second line, it's a shame we can't just move up this entire third line in place of that line, as it doesn't really do anything. So we'll go ahead and just leave it as is, and we'll go ahead and try and sign Dion Phaneuf to free agency. So Dion Phaneuf, a two-way defenseman who will fit perfectly on our second-line defensive pair. Looks like he only wants a one-year deal worth $950,000, and we do have that in our cap space. So we will actually go ahead and offer $975 just in case he might want a little bit more. Don't want to go over that $1 million mark, as we will go ahead and simulate a day or two here. If we end up playing the first preseason game, it is what it is. I don't think we will, so we get the new salary cap in there. Advance to the next day. Hopefully Phaneuf will sign. He does not, so we will actually go ahead and watch this simulation here of the Vancouver Canucks. We're actually able to get the W, as Hertl able to sign there, and Dion Phaneuf is extremely happy to accept your offer. So Phaneuf is on the squad. We just have to bring him up to the NHL and put him in our lineup. So looking at our lineup here in the NHL, it looks like we can send down one of our forwards, which we can do so. So we will send him down to sort of get some action in the AHL, and we will go ahead and bring up Dion Phaneuf to the NHL, and we will get him sort of sorted here in our lineup, if I can just get there quick enough, as the team is starting to come together here, as our team status is hopeful, which is nice to see. We're not a contender just yet, but it is nice to see that we are at least hopeful, as I got to get to our defense here, and we will go ahead and substitute this guy out here for Dion Phaneuf, two-way defenseman. Throw him into the lineup, see if he fits our second line. He doesn't give any pluses. Let's see if I actually move him to the first line. No, I wouldn't really want to do that, as we'll actually leave him on our third line and put Ferraro on our second line here with Brett Burns to sort of give him a little bit more exposure to sort of develop, as we will keep Carlson and Vlasic on our first line, while we will potentially maybe halfway through the season look to trade Marco-Edouard Vlasic out of there to get anything, but we will actually go ahead and simulate through the preseason here and see how the team does. I don't think we really need to worry about any more free agent signings just yet, as we will go ahead and simulate through these two games against the Vegas Golden Knights and Anaheim Ducks. And we actually have a trade offer here for a second-round pick. Holy smokes. Let's actually take a look at that. Actually, no, we're going to decline that because they want a 2020 second-round pick for a 2021 second-round pick. I'm just going to decline that. That seems a little too much. As we actually get a victory and a shootout loss against the Ducks and the Vegas Golden Knights, as we'll simulate up through the Calgary Flames here, just going slow at a time. We actually lose 3-0 to the Calgary Flames. Simulate through the LA Kings. We lose 2-1 in overtime, as we will simulate all the way up to the Edmonton Oilers game, last game of the preseason. We're able to beat the Phoenix Coyotes, and let's actually take a look here at our stats to see how our team is performing right now and see if we really need to bring in any sort of fourth line presence from free agency. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the stats here. As Hertl, Patrick Marleau, and Jumbo Joe Thornton, our second line is actually buzzing with Sorensen, Thornton, and Marleau. So that's actually a great pairing with that +3. So I might just leave them there as that +3, as Burns is up there, 4 assists in 4 games. Let's keep going down the lineup. Connolly just acquired in the trade. Not doing so hot. Only 2 assists in 6 games, as Meyer also sort of struggling a little bit. Phaneuf, obviously no points. And it looks like we could potentially get a fourth line player. We can go and look at free agency once again and see if we can pick up a cheap player here in free agency. So it doesn't look like there are any players that might fit our sort of fourth line, as the top free agent players from this year were actually already picked up. So we will have to roll with our fourth line as is, as we will go ahead and simulate through the final preseason game before we get into a back-to-back with the Vegas Golden Knights. So we will go ahead and simulate that final preseason game, and it is a victory against the Edmonton Oilers as we finally get into the actual regular season, guys, as we will start the game off, or not the game, we should start the season off away from home against the Vegas Golden Knights. We will actually go ahead and simulate this game within the actual simulation, and if it is a closed third period, we'll go ahead and watch it, as this will be sort of the last sort of knockings of this episode, as we'll go ahead and simulate the first period. We find a way to go up 1-0 as Hertl able to cash in early in the game. Second period goes by, and Evander Kane able to get a second goal of the game, first of the season, as we will go ahead and simulate through the third period here. It looks like the boys will go ahead and take this one, as we are actually being outshot by the Vegas Golden Knights considerably here in this entire game, as time is running out for the Vegas Golden Knights. Goudreau gets that goal right off the bat in the third period to sort of put us up 3-0. As time expires in the game, we will actually go ahead and win our first game of the regular season against the Vegas Golden Knights. And that is actually going to be it for this episode, guys, regarding the playing. How I plan on doing it moving forward with this series is I plan on sort of simulating through half of the season. So from the first month of October, we will simulate until January 1st, assess the team from there, and it will give you guys an opportunity to sort of leave comments down below whether you guys want trades or line changes or anything like that, so you guys are sort of tweaking the team as we go, so it's not just me making the changes. I want as much input from you guys as possible, and also regarding any trades or any injuries or lineup changes that we need to make along the way. So that's how I plan on sort of breaking up the episodes. So we'll go to January, and then from January we'll actually simulate all the way through till the end of the regular season, which is in April. And then once we sort of break that up, we will then get in. We'll have an entire episode for the playoffs, off-season, and preseason. Or we'll just do playoffs and off-season, and that sort of episode with a draft, and then get back into the preseason and everything like that. So per actual NHL season, we will have 3 episodes. So starting off in the preseason with free agents, signings, and contracts, which then we will get into the first half of the regular season, sort of have a stopping point at January 1st to make changes to the lineup with either injuries or things you guys want to see, or tips and tricks you guys can sort of boost the lineup with, and for the trade deadline. And then we'll also simulate all the way through to the playoffs, assess the regular season, and then another episode for the playoffs and post-season draft. So I hope you guys will enjoy this series, as we will go ahead and take a look at our season sort of starting lineup here, as it was pretty much the same throughout all of the preseason. As we will go ahead and take a look here, Couture, Kane, and Meyer on our first line, only getting that +1, which is kind of crappy, but they already are pretty decently overalled. The second line in preseason killed it with Sorensen, Thornton, and Marleau with the +3. So Marleau is an 84, Thornton is an 86, and then Sorensen is chilling at that 82 position. So that's always awesome to see. Third line, you hate to see Hurdle on the third, but I want to keep that sort of +3 on that second line, but I'm sure they'll find a way to figure it out on that line. And then our fourth line is actually pretty decent too, with Gaudreau, Sumela, and Carlson. We could maybe look to sort of switch it up and find a new fourth line center, but we'll let you guys decide that. And then our defense here with Vlasic and Carlson, we got Burns and Ferraro, and then we have our new man Dion, Phaneuf, and Tim Heed rounding out the back end. And then we have our goalies with Martin Jones and Aaron Dell between the pipes. But that is the team, guys, and that is where we're going to go. We'll get into sort of the power play and everything before we start simulating games in the next episode, but that's going to be it for today's episode. If you guys did enjoy this and will be enjoying this franchise mode series, be sure to drop a like on this video and also subscribe so you aren't missing out on any future content. And I hope you guys have an awesome day, and as always, stay dusty.